Ahmed was a farmer who lived in a small village surrounded by wide fields and rolling hills. His life was simple, filled with the rhythm of planting, watering, and harvesting. Each day began before the sun rose, with the soft light of dawn painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Ahmed would walk through his fields, checking the soil, the crops, and the small streams that gave life to his land. Farming was not easy, and this year had been especially difficult. The weather had been unpredictable, and the dry season had lasted longer than anyone remembered. Water was scarce, and every drop counted. Ahmed had been worried about how he would manage to save his crops. In one corner of his farm, near the edge of a small hill, stood an old tree. Its trunk was thick and twisted, covered in rough bark, and its branches stretched wide, though many of them were bare and broken. The tree had been there as long as Ahmed could remember. Villagers often said it was ancient, older than any person in the village. But it was strange to Ahmed because water seemed to leak from its roots. No matter how dry the season was, there was always a small puddle near its base, and sometimes the ground around it was damp enough for small grass to grow. For years, Ahmed had ignored the tree. He focused on his crops, walking past it as he went about his work. But this year, the tree seemed to be causing more problems than usual. Its roots were spreading into the field, making it difficult for Ahmed to plant seeds properly. His neighbors had also started whispering about it. Some called it a useless tree that wasted water, while others said it was strange for a tree to leak water in the dry season. Ahmed thought about the stories he had heard when he was a child. Old villagers used to speak of trees that had special powers, trees that could protect the land or bring life. He had never believed them. But now, looking at the puddle of water and his struggling crops, he wondered if there was something he did not understand. One morning, Ahmed decided he had enough. He could not let a single tree ruin an entire season. He fetched his old axe, the one his father had given him years ago. It was heavy, but it had always been reliable. He walked to the tree, feeling the rough bark under his hands and looking at the small puddle forming near its base. "It is time," he said quietly, as if the tree could hear him. The villagers had started gathering at a distance, curious about what Ahmed would do. Some shook their heads, warning him, while others just watched silently. Ahmed raised the axe and brought it down on the trunk. The first strike made a loud thud, and tiny pieces of bark fell to the ground. He struck again and again, each hit sending vibrations through his arms. As he worked, water started to flow more freely from the tree. It surprised Ahmed. The trickle he had seen before had grown into a small stream running down the side of the trunk. He stepped back for a moment, wiping sweat from his forehead, and looked at the flowing water. The villagers gasped. Some stepped closer, whispering in disbelief. They had never seen anything like it. Despite the surprise, Ahmed did not stop. He was determined to remove the tree. With each strike, the tree creaked and moaned, as if it were alive in a way he had not imagined. Finally, after hours of work, the tree began to lean. Ahmed shouted to the villagers to step back, and with a final strike, the tree fell to the ground with a heavy crash. Dust rose into the air, and the villagers held their breath. But what happened next amazed everyone. Water gushed out from the base of the fallen tree. It formed a small, clear pool that reflected the sunlight. The puddle that had been a small curiosity now became a steady flow, running toward Ahmed's fields. Ahmed knelt down to touch the water. It was cool and fresh. He tasted a small drop and smiled. It was clean and pure, nothing like the muddy water from the river nearby. He looked at the villagers, who were now gathered closer, their eyes wide with wonder. Some of them whispered, "It is a miracle," while others shook their heads in disbelief. Ahmed felt a mix of excitement and confusion. He had cut down a tree he thought was useless, but it had revealed something extraordinary The villagers began to share stories they had heard about the tree. One old man said that his grandfather had told him that the tree had been there for generations, protecting a hidden spring beneath its roots. No one ever believed it, the man said. But it seems your hard work has uncovered it, Ahmed. Ahmed was surprised. He had always thought the old stories were just tales to entertain children. Now he realized there was truth in them. The tree had not been leaking water randomly. It had been guarding a source of life for the land. Curious and eager to learn more, Ahmed began digging around the base of the tree. He wanted to see where the water was coming from. The villagers offered to help, and together they uncovered more of the roots and the ground beneath. As they dug, the water flowed steadily, never slowing. Ahmed could not believe what he saw. A small underground stream had been hidden there all along, trapped by the roots of the tree. The tree had acted like a natural dam, keeping the water safe and slowly releasing it. As the day went on, more villagers arrived to see the discovery. Children ran around the fields, splashing in the water and laughing. Women brought buckets to collect the fresh water, amazed that it was so clean and plentiful. Ahmed's neighbors were amazed at the thought that a single tree could hide such a treasure for so many years. Experts from nearby towns even came to examine the site. They confirmed that the underground spring was rare and valuable, and that it could provide water to Ahmed's farm and the surrounding land for many years. Ahmed sat on the edge of the field, watching the water flow into his crops. His heart was full of gratitude and pride. He had worked hard all his life, and now, by removing a tree that had once seemed like a problem, he had found something that would change the lives of everyone in the village. The sun began to set, casting golden light over the fields and making the water sparkle. Ahmed thought about how fragile and mysterious nature could be, and how sometimes even something old and overlooked could hold unimaginable value. The villagers started to leave as evening approached, still talking about the strange and wonderful tree. Ahmed stayed behind for a while, looking at the stream. He knew that this discovery was only the beginning. The water would bring life back to the land, and he would need to plan carefully to use it wisely. But for the first time in many months, Ahmed felt hope. The challenges of farming would continue, but he had learned a lesson that day. Patience, observation, and courage could uncover hidden blessings, even in the most unexpected places. As Ahmed walked home that evening, he looked back at the stump of the tree. It no longer seemed old or useless. It had been a guardian, a protector of life beneath the soil. He realized that nature often had its own plans, and humans could learn from it if they were willing to pay attention. Ahmed smiled quietly to himself, thinking about the future, his fields, and the water that would now nurture them. He knew that the story of the tree would be told for generations, and that he would always remember the day when an old tree, leaking water, revealed a hidden treasure that changed everything. Ahmed could not sleep that night. He kept thinking about the water that had flowed from the old tree. Even in the dark, he could imagine it running through his fields, bringing life to the soil and hope to his crops. By morning, he was already up, eager to see the water again and figure out how to use it wisely. The villagers had begun to talk about him and the tree. Some said it was luck, others said it was a miracle, but everyone agreed that Ahmed had discovered something extraordinary. As the sun rose, Ahmed returned to the field. The stream from the tree had grown stronger overnight. It ran clear and cool, and small fish that had been hiding underground could now be seen swimming in it. Ahmed felt a mix of amazement and responsibility. He realized that this was more than just water for his crops. It was a source of life for the entire village, and he had to make sure it was protected and used carefully. He started by building small channels to guide the water toward his fields. The soil, which had been dry and cracked, began to soften as the water spread. He planted seeds he had saved from last season, hoping that they would grow quickly with the new source of water. Villagers came to watch him work. Some offered help, bringing shovels, buckets, and tools. Even children carried small containers to help Ahmed move the water. The atmosphere was full of excitement and energy. Everyone could feel that something remarkable was happening. Word spread quickly. People from nearby villages started arriving, curious about the hidden spring. Experts from the city came to examine it. They took samples of the water and tested it for cleanliness. Everyone was amazed that a tree, which had looked old and useless, had been protecting such a valuable resource for so long. They explained that the underground spring could be a permanent source of water if it was used carefully. Ahmed listened to their advice and made plans to share the water with his neighbors. Over the next few days, Ahmed and the villagers worked together. They built small reservoirs to store the water and created channels to bring it to different parts of the village. Crops that had been struggling began to grow. Seeds sprouted quickly, turning the dry land into a patchwork of green. The village, which had suffered through months of drought, began to come alive. Birds returned, small animals appeared near the water, and the air felt fresher. Ahmed felt proud, but he also felt humble. He knew that the tree, in its own way, had given him this gift. As the days passed, the story of the tree and the water spread even further. Journalists from nearby towns came to write about it, taking photos and talking to Ahmed. They called him the farmer who discovered a hidden spring. Children from other villages visited to see the magical tree stump and the flowing water. Ahmed welcomed them, sharing the story of the old tree and teaching them the importance of caring for nature. He spoke about patience, observation, and respect for the land. People listened, fascinated by how something so simple could change so much. One afternoon, Ahmed was approached by a local government official. The official explained that the discovery could help the entire region. With proper planning, the spring could provide water to multiple villages, support agriculture, and even help with small businesses that relied on water. Ahmed felt both honored and nervous. He had never imagined that cutting down a tree would lead to something so big. The official promised to work with him, but emphasized that Ahmed's careful and humble approach was the key to making this a lasting success. Ahmed continued working tirelessly. He visited the spring every day, checking the flow of water and making sure the channels were clear. He built small barriers to prevent soil erosion and planted trees around the area to protect the land. Villagers joined him, eager to help and learn. Everyone had a role, from children carrying water to elders guiding the planting of new crops. The village had become a community effort, all because of a single tree that had once seemed old and unimportant. One evening, Ahmed walked through his fields, looking at the growing crops. Corn and wheat were sprouting, and the soil felt rich and soft under his feet. The sun set behind the hills, casting a warm, golden glow over the land. Ahmed felt a sense of peace. He knew that life could be unpredictable, but he also knew that careful attention and respect for nature could bring unexpected rewards. The tree had given him more than water. It had given him hope, inspiration, and a lesson that he would never forget. As the months passed, the farm flourished like never before. The crops were abundant, and the villagers had more than enough food. The water from the spring continued to flow steadily, providing for everyone. Children played near the water, laughing and learning about the importance of nature. Families celebrated the harvest together, grateful for the miracle that had come from the old tree. Ahmed became a respected figure in the village, not for cutting down the tree, but for discovering the hidden treasure and sharing it with others. One day, a group of scientists arrived. They had heard about the discovery and wanted to study the spring. They explained that the underground stream was rare and valuable. Ahmed listened carefully, learning about how the water could help with agriculture, wildlife, and even the health of the community. The scientists were impressed by Ahmed's careful approach and his efforts to involve the villagers. They said that many people would have destroyed the site, but Ahmed had preserved it while also uncovering its secret. The villagers often told visitors about the tree. They spoke of the day Ahmed cut it down, how water had poured out, and how the hidden spring had changed their lives. Children would gather around, wide-eyed, imagining the magical tree that had protected the water for so many years. Ahmed would smile, remembering the moment he had first struck the trunk with his axe. He had acted out of necessity, but the outcome had been beyond anything he had imagined. Ahmed's life changed in many ways. He became a teacher to the village, sharing his knowledge about farming, water conservation, and the importance of nature. The villagers learned to plant trees, protect the soil, and use water wisely. The farm became a model for other communities, showing how patience, care, and curiosity could lead to incredible results. Ahmed often thought about the tree and the lesson. It had taught him that even things that seem ordinary or troublesome can hide life-changing surprises if one is willing to look closely. One afternoon, Ahmed stood by the spring, watching the water flow. The sun reflected off the surface, creating a shimmering path across the fields. Birds flew overhead, and the wind rustled through the leaves of the new trees planted around the area. Ahmed felt a deep sense of gratitude. The village had survived a difficult season, and now life was thriving. All of this had started with a single tree that had seemed old and unimportant, but it held a secret that would benefit generations to come. The villagers often said that Ahmed had uncovered a miracle. But Ahmed knew it was not just a miracle. It was a combination of nature's mystery, his own curiosity, and the willingness of the community to work together. The water had been hidden for decades, and the tree had protected it until the right time. Now, it was up to Ahmed and the villagers to make sure it continued to bring life and hope. Years later, the story of the tree became a legend in the region. Visitors would come to see the site, and children would be taught the story in schools. Ahmed would take them to the spring and show them the channels and reservoirs he had built. He would tell them about the importance of patience, observation, and caring for the land. The village had changed forever, all because a farmer had noticed an old tree leaking water and decided to investigate. Ahmed often returned to the stump of the tree. Even though it was cut down, it remained a symbol of life, hope, and discovery. He would touch the rough bark and remember the moment when the water had first gushed out. He felt proud, but also humble, knowing that nature had been patient and generous, giving him a gift that he could share with everyone. The village continued to thrive, the fields were green, and the water flowed endlessly, a reminder that life often hides its treasures in the most unexpected places.